Hello and welcome to episode 9 of Sora is Bad, where we go through the recents page on Sora. We take a look at what people have generated using that tool. We talk about what works, what doesn't work, and hopefully have some laughs along the way. So right off the bat, loading the page, I see this little gem. It is a strong remix of another one. Let's see what that was. That was a strong remix of another one. So rather than go through all these, we're just going to go to the latest generation that I saw. So both should hold trays and serve drinks to guests. Now, the reason I'm showing this and the prompt doesn't matter, well, let's just take a look. Guy comes over, he's her body, so I don't know if this is a wedding or... So as we step through, we see these two gentlemen on the left, this woman on the right, this one behind kind of comes forward, he has a tray in one hand, up comes this other hand, and it almost looks... But as we continue on, it starts to become its own sleeve, but there's no hand coming out of the end. As they get closer, that tray goes behind the woman, it must disappear back there somewhere, because this arm is going to swipe right through her body in a way that just wouldn't be possible. Maybe she's a ghost, I don't know. I guess that could be possible for some. So the fact that right here he doesn't have a hand, I know sometimes people don't have hands, but the sleeve wouldn't work quite like that if that were the case here. And then swiping through her body just makes this totally unusable for any sort of profession. For number 2, let's take a look at this. It almost looks like it's supposed to be a magic trick. So the 2014 World Cup mascot, Fuelco, programming. So there is a computer there. Looks like they could be programming. What caught my eye was, here we go, the hand. It almost looks like it could be blue on the bottom and the rest is yellow here. But as the hand moves up, we can see it's all yellow. We do see a little blue on this other hand. But the issue is, once that comes to that nose, it just kind of turns blue for some reason. Then as we continue on, the hand comes away, it's still blue. Now there's blue on both arms. And if we continue even further, that blue, it just kind of disappears again. It goes nowhere. That goes kind of behind the little nose area. The hand just kind of bounces around for some reason. They're not really doing any programming. They're not typing. And I know it's a mascot head, but it doesn't even really look like they're looking at the laptop. The laptop kind of looks like an afterthought over to the side. And then they just kind of bounce their hand a few times, and that's the end. So the fact that the hand is just changing colors, again, unless this is supposed to be a magic trick or something like that, it's just not going to work. It doesn't, this probably wouldn't. Next up, for video number 3, let's see what's going on in here. And I was kind of wondering if this would have something to do with using the facilities. Give me a video of Elon Musk pooping to space. So... do they mean like on Earth and he poops with so much force that he gets launched into space? Do they mean like this, where he's kind of in a spaceship or a space station pooping? Who knows? This does look like a interesting toilet. Probably not quite like what they actually use in space, because here on Earth we use gravity to help things out, but in space it's a little bit different. Maybe this does have some kind of connections in there, who knows. Either way, the worst thing about this looks like an absolutely terrible cut and paste job. Like there's even the little white outline, like they didn't do a good job going around the edges or feathering them, or I think in video it's called roto brushing. I do more photo stuff myself. It's not even sitting like on the floor. There are windows everywhere. You need your privacy even in space, right? That was a joke. So this just looks like a very, very poorly done, Photoshop. I don't know what's supposed to be going on with the space in the background. Maybe they're actually in warp drive right now. So they're like little fragments of our reality going by them, but they can move through. And at the end there, what the heck? Why is he sitting there pretty much steady, and then just all of a sudden his body is like perfectly still and his hand just kind of ran? With Sora, it doesn't need to explain anything to anyone. For video number 4, let's check this out, and it actually looks like a good one. I usually don't include them as one of the 1 through 10, but I really like the movement on this one. At first, when it started, I'm just gonna play it through. At first, when it started, I was like, oh, is it gonna go off the rails? The way all of that moves, that is almost flawless with how the fur would actually move with the cat going down and twisting. Now, one thing that's just a little bit off, and it's not too bad, is They reach their paw out to this pillow, and then they would be putting weight on it as they kind of go over the edge of that windowsill. And right at this point, it's kind of weird. So I could see their elbow kind of pressing in right there and still putting weight on it, but then it kind of moves in an unusual way. Like, they wouldn't have the muscles to move it. So if this is the pillow, they would kind of press in. They wouldn't pick it up and move it. They'd have to kind of like slide it off the edge. And that doesn't really happen. So that is just the littlest nitpick on this. Overall, I absolutely love the movement of all the fur on the back of this cat. For video number 5, let's take a look at this. A realistic German cockroach is laughing behind a fridge while a white male is deep cleaning his kitchen. So right off the bat, we can see this might be like a refrigerator. It's taking up half the shot. So we have these cockroaches, and then we have the reflection over here. And as it goes through, it looks like he could plausibly be cleaning at first, but of course there are some issues. So almost immediately as he starts to go in, I don't see any antenna quite yet, but as soon as it gets over here and it overlaps with this other cockroach, now what he is using has antennas and it's moving around. So it's almost like he might have like a cleaning brush and then a cockroach on top of it that he's holding on to and moving. So let me go at full speed and you can see how ridiculous it looks. So unless he is like laughing about having this cockroach in his hand as he's kind of cleaning above the sink and counter with it, you know, it's just not quite gonna work. So very, very common that we see this. It has the right subject matter. Overall, it looks plausibly real, like he looks like a real person. This looks like a real video, other than the action that's going on, what he has in his hand, and even his arm looks a little bit weird. Now he could have some issues with his muscles right there, but normally forearms don't really. Now he could have some muscle damage, but I just lean more toward. For number 6, let's see what's supposed to be going on right here. This is a long prompt. Long story short, this is about a cat who is supposed to be skillfully using chopsticks. They even specify that he is holding them in his paw. He picks up pieces of odin, such as daikon or fish cake, from a steaming bowl, brings them to his mouth with precision. I wonder if they've been trying to generate this for a little while and they've been refining their prompt to be more detailed with hold the chopsticks in your paw, pick the things up with precision, don't just kind of like miss your mouth or anything like that. So let's watch it. This is a 10-second long video, and it's basically 10 seconds of this cat choking on and coughing up chopsticks to finally, like halfway through, get a little grasp on them, and there's no amount of actually eating the food in the bowl. This is another example of good image quality that looks like a realistic cat, a realistic bowl down there. The steam is coming off and going up. The whole scene behind him looks good. There's a good amount of blur between our main subject and the background. All of that's good. It's just the actual action that's happening in this video. For number 7, let's take a look at what's happening right here. That's a pretty long one. Make a video of a girl, kind of pixie haircut, brown hair, a little bit chubby. She's 32 years old. She's a Warrenton police officer, and make her uniform. Have her walking very, very, very excited. Have her walking a very, very, very excited Bernese mountain dog. Female who's about 100 pounds. Have it be her walking in town with 2 of her redhead sons that are 12 years old. One of them has very long. They're all super happy and they're riding on her shoulders. The Christmas shopping. Also have her 2-year-old daughter Lily, who has brown hair, very light brown hair, also there. And she is riding on the back of the Bernese mountain dog while they are Christmas shopping. So that's a mouthful. That's a really long prompt. It has some details that don't really need to be there. I don't imagine saying the daughter's name is Lily is going to help Sora generate anything, but that's just nitpicking the prompt. Even with all of this, Sora should have made a little bit better of a video than this. So right off the bat, it's kind of interesting. We have this dog and we have this little boy. That little boy is holding somebody's hand, and it looks like that should be like a police vest, but where the head is, there's this other little girl up there, and then there's this other person over here. I'm assuming that's Lily. So as we go through, we continue to see, yeah, that definitely looks like an arm there, But there's still no head for this person. It's not like they're riding on their shoulders or in front of them on the dog or anything. Also, they weren't... Oh, and that says poise. I don't think anywhere around the world calls the police poise, but hey, maybe. The other issue is that she's supposed to be walking the dog. So the 32-year-old woman police officer is supposed to be walking the dog. The dog is supposed to be very excited, and then she has her 2 sons and then her 2-year-old daughter. The 2-year-old daughter is supposed to be riding on the back of the dog, and at least one of the kids, the older kids, is supposed to be on the shoulders of the police officer woman, I think. So as we continue to step through here, we never have this police officer's head come into existence. So the adult, the 32-year-old police officer woman, isn't really walking the dog. The only trace of her is maybe this arm and a vest that looks kind of like a police vest, but the word is messed up. And then if we just watch it all the way through, we can pretty quickly tell that this isn't going to work for much. Yeah, this is another one of those kind of borderline fever dream generations, I guess. For number 8, let's take a look at what's going on here. Turtle surfing in Mexico City. So right off the bat, the main issue with this, it looks like one of those poorly cut and paste overlays of this turtle that doesn't really match the rest, and that water it looks terrible. So let alone, this isn't really surfing to me. I mean, maybe there's a term like turtle surfing where they go on a wave and they don't actually have a surfboard, but I imagine this should be a turtle on a surfboard doing some surfing. Maybe not. The other issue is that, this foreground, this subject right here, it doesn't blend in with the rest of the video at all. So it makes it look very, very fake on top of the turtle just kind of like morphing. We frequently see this with limbs, heads, fronts becoming backs, a whole lot of morphing that doesn't make sense. So that would make this a pretty unusable clip. Now, the prompt isn't the greatest. It's a little bit too short, but I would still expect a little bit better than this for that prompt. For number 9, let's take a look at this one, and the prompt is simply just Shibuya. So at first glance, this seems to make sense, and if you watch world news, you might also think, oh, this is a little bit more plausible than we would like, but this is kind of like a nonsensical intersection. I understand why all those people are going around there. The problem is that these cars right here, well, all of them really, but these cars just kind of go up straight and plow into that crowd, and that's probably not what they were trying to generate. Maybe, but probably not. That alone would make this a very unusable clip, let alone it gets the roads wrong. There's not really an intersection like this. Anybody familiar with this area would immediately be like, yeah, nope, that's not what it's actually like. So that makes this a failure. For number 10, let's check this one out. This has pretty much become like the how many R's in strawberry for language models, or Will Smith eating spaghetti for early video generations. Any sort of gymnastics or dancing is like the Achilles heel of most video generation models right now, and that is very apparent with Sora. So this is a young athlete wearing modern sportswear, blue tank top and black shorts, performs a backward somersault in slow motion. The scene takes place in a lighted gym room with wooden floors and sports equipment in the background. The movement is fluid and detailed, highlighting the strength and precision of the jump. The camera captures different angles, emphasizing the athlete's elegance and control during movement. So if we just watch this all the way through, a few issues. Number 1, there aren't wood floors in there, which, most gymnastics are on mats like this. Maybe they wanted it to not be on a mat. Maybe they wanted a wood floor and just a single backflip, slow motion, done. It seems like Sora should have had enough training footage of something like that to be able to complete this. But as we can see in the air, there's just a whole big mess of morphing, stuff popping in and out of existence, parts that just probably shouldn't even be there. Like, who knows? This is just a big old mess in the air, and definitely not a slow motion backflip showing their power as prompted. So that's going to do it for our 10th video. Let's see if we can end on a high note. I haven't watched this yet, but I'm hopeful that this will be a good one. A humanoid android and a little boy walking amidst destroyed buildings. So one thing I like about this, the walking is a little bit better than Sora usually gets it. Their footsteps are pretty well matching up with the ground movement. They're not like sliding on the surface or anything like that. And I can definitely tell that's like a little kid, could be a little boy, and then that looks like an android. It looks like the android has a little bit of a limp, but that doesn't bother me because it looks like they're in a pretty rough area. Something disastrous happened here, so maybe the leg is injured on the android. But overall, I think this is a pretty good shot. There's good movement to it. The camera following is good. There's a little bit of extra movement to that. It's not like a perfectly fluid shot. So overall, I think this is a pretty decent generation. Not perfect, but certainly better than most. And with that, that'll do it for Sora is Bad, episode 9. We have one more episode left in this series, and we will have gone through more than 100 videos giving critiques. We've shown some good ones, some bad ones, and overall, it's been quite the experience. One interesting thing that I didn't really think about at first is just seeing what people are trying to generate. Because when I mess with AI, I generate stuff. It tends to be a lot of cats and other stuff too, but a lot of like science and technology and things like that, spaceships. Other people generate totally different stuff that I would not normally generate. So going through this recent page really gives you an idea of the variety of things that people want to generate. So that's it for this episode. Thank you for watching.